Well, good morning and welcome to Fox 29 News Now. I do want to jump right into live in New York, where the sentencing for Chanel Lewis. He was convicted in 2016 death of Karina Vetrano. Vetrano was murdered while jogging in a park in Queens, and this is a live look at that hearing right now.
Imagine the pain, the anguish of finding your baby brutally beaten, her neck swollen and bruised, knowing she was dead, unable to help her, to save her, to protect her, as any father would instinctively want to do. That monster killed 4 people the night of August 2nd, 2016. One of us is in heaven, but the other 3 walk the earth as zombies, just waiting to die to be with Karina again. There were no more Merry Christmases, no more Happy New Years, no more happy birthdays. There was no more pleasure in life, no more smiles, no more happiness. Those were all taken by that convicted, murdering rapist. My heart was ripped out of me that night, and it created a void that will never heal. Only my faith in God and my belief in heaven keeps me from killing myself for fear of not being allowed into heaven to see my baby again. Now, I would speak to you as a victim to a Supreme Court justice. Whatever happens here today, whatever sentence you impose, there will be no true justice. The light of my life was brutally beaten and murdered by that animal. True justice will be served only when he is dead and he meets the Lord our God. He, and only he, can impose true justice upon that murderer, and he will feel the wrath of God and burn in eternal hell. That convicted, murdering rapist deserves to spend the rest of his life locked away from society. He's a serial killer in the making. If he wasn't caught, I know he would have killed again and again. He's proven that. As an angry, violent boy, he told the teacher he wanted to bring a knife to school and kill all the girls. As an angry, violent man, he made good on that threat the night he killed the brightest light in the world, my baby girl, Karina. After he had already killed, he searched on his phone how to forcibly rape someone. And again, that was after he had already killed and raped Karina. So his intentions are obvious. He wanted to kill and to rape again and again. And he will if he is ever let loose on this world. He has shown no remorse, no regret, and no sorrow. I ask you to use the power that was given to you by the people to protect the people that gave you that power. The only way to do that is to make sure he never has the opportunity to kill another innocent person. I beg of you to impose the maximum sentence allowed, which is life without the possibility of parole. He must never walk the streets again. Thank you, sir. Now, I want to address him, you. Karina has asked me to give you a message. Reluctantly, I will do so. Now remember, these are not my words. These are her words. She told me that if you stand up here today in court and ask for her forgiveness, tell her you're sorry, she will forgive you. But remember, those are not my words, and I will never forgive you. Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to introduce my 2 surviving children, Eddie and Tanner. Thank you.
While my sister was dying, being murdered, I was giving my 3-month-old baby a bath. I did not know that those were the last moments of lightness and peace I would know. I did not know that all innocence would be lost that August night. To state how the brutal murder of my sister Karina has impacted my life is nearly impossible. Every day is filled with loss and yearning. I yearn to be a child again, to have Karina crawl in my bed on Christmas mornings while our parents were still asleep. I yearn for my child to know his Aunt Riri, for her to teach him to love fiercely and live fearlessly in pure lightness that was her, that is her. Chanel Lewis killed my beautiful, innocent, insightful, gentle sister. My sister that always put her pajamas on inside out and backwards, whose feet, if it weren't for her giant big toe, were the size of a doll's. Her hands, her tiny hands, left grasping for weeds in attempt to save her life. My sister is dead, a thought I cannot grasp. Even after enduring countless court dates, 2 trials, heinous accusations against my family, and a circus of a defense, I cannot accept that my baby sister is dead. My sister Karina is the victim here, the only victim. Chanel Lewis, you are not worthy to be associated. I wish you good health. May you live a long life in darkness and fear, longing and yearning for all you have lost. I wish you courage, courage to stand up and pray for the redemption of your wicked soul. Your guilty verdict was not justice, for the real justice and reckoning is when you face your higher power with Karina by his side. And yes, the Lord does not give us murderers. We walk the earth and make decisions, and in one horrific moment, you chose to become a murderer. Your Honor, Chanel Lewis showed my sister Karina no mercy, and I ask that the court show him no mercy and give him the highest.
Before Mrs. Matrona comes up, there's just one of the letters I'd like to read into the record that was written by Karina's brother.
Do apologize for the lag on that feed. It is a live stream, so we do have some technical difficulties there. I'm going to jump into some local news this morning, and maybe we'll come back to that as time comes on. Well, in the Frankfurt section of the city of Philadelphia, a father and son return home from shopping to find burglars inside. Now they are both in the hospital. Steve Keeley filed this report from police headquarters this morning.
The only thing worse than coming home and finding out your house has been burglarized is to come home and find the burglars still in it. And even worse than that, 2 burglars with guns who start firing at you and your family. Well, a family in Frankfort, coincidentally, was shopping at Home Depot. A 33-year-old father, his wife, 11-year-old daughter, and 12-year-old boy. They were getting items to fix up their relatively new home and maybe even fortify it. And now they know they need to in the future because the father, already on alert for whatever job he has a legal permit to carry a gun. But even when armed, you're at a disadvantage when you don't expect 2 armed burglars in your house to start shooting at you as you and your family get home at 9:45 at night in prime time.
As they entered their home, they came in contact with at least 2 people inside that they did not know. The male's inside the house. We know there's some gunfire inside. We think the male's inside the house fired at least 10 times, striking the father in both arms and his torso. They also hit the 12-year-old son in the chest. He's grazed. Uniformed officers arrive on scene. They take both victims over to Temple Hospital. The father's currently in critical condition. The son's stabilized at this point. Looks like a burglary going on, and the parents just come home at the wrong time as the offenders are inside the house. And as the father, son, the daughter, and mother enter there, they realize there's people inside the house. Not suspecting that they would shoot at them, but they did. The father does have a permit, and he carries a gun. We're not quite sure now if he was able to get any shots off at this point, or if we have a victim at the hospital that may have been shot. But we know there could have been a gun battle inside of that house, and we're fortunate that the victims appear like they'll all be fine at the end of this. But again, it just shows these guns on the street and how they become problematic, especially here in a burglary case where usually burglars do not carry guns, but in this situation they did.
Police were seen taking a gun from the scene that they believed was the owner's, who likely never even fired it in self-defense. He was hit in both arms and likely never could get a shot off as he worried about covering up his 11-year-old daughter, 12-year-old son, and wife. Neighbors instantly called 911, hearing all the shots fired, and likely will be going to Home Depot themselves to help fortify their own homes, maybe buy secure locks, doors, and even their own surveillance system. And it's surveillance, police hope, will help them break the case, because a gold minivan was last seen speeding away, and police are hoping they got a good surveillance shot of it, the gunman, or the plate itself. At police headquarters, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
Well, let's check in on a live event in Topeka, Kansas, where they're holding a newser on a tiger attack.
You know, next thing we've got to try, if this happens again.
Said our staff and Kristen and her family were all going through a horrific thing right now, and so just respecting our time to process is very much appreciated.
At this point, we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
She said if she plans to come back to work.
I don't know. We haven't had that conversation. I don't know if she's shared any thoughts like that with anyone else. You know, it's interesting as I thought about reflecting on how to kind of express this to what has become a national story in parts of the country that may not be familiar with our culture here in Northeast Kansas. That's a question that doesn't have to be answered right now. So we'll give it time to let it be answered when it's ready to. And we're perfectly comfortable with that, even though it may be a pressing question for other people.
Have you all had any chance to talk to her yet about what happened?
We haven't. You know, and we've discussed a little bit when the right time is to do that. And I think the answer to that is somewhere in between, while it's still fresh in her mind. And hopefully we can let her get out of the hospital first.
Did the folks at the hospital give you any indication?
They haven't. We are the Topeka Zoo is really kind of represented by two different organizations. And we have a nonprofit support society that works here. Kristen and myself are both municipal employees of the city of Topeka, so there's a number of, quite frankly, that's none of my business, is, that timeline under government regulations.
It seems like Kristen played a major role at the zoo. What has it been like trying to fill that gap since she's gone?
Great question. We are, I tell that story a little bit like this. We're kind of a small story, but we're kind of a small zoo, but we do big things. And when that's your persona, it requires your team members to do incredible things. And of our staff that are in this room, I would describe them that exact same way. So when you're down one of those team members, especially in a situation like this, it's amazing how people fill in, pick up the slack, if you will, contribute. So from that standpoint, all those animals are receiving the same care that they would have with Kristen here. Long term, we don't know how long she's going to be out, but she does a lot every day. Kristen does, and that'll be a different challenge to accomplish long term.
Brendan, can you give us just a short timeline, a description of what you know about what happened Saturday morning?
Sure. About 9:15, there was a zoo volunteer stationed in front of the tiger exhibit here at the Topeka Zoo that noticed something very wrong. And this story may be a little bit different than what you heard a couple days ago, just because I've learned some updates since then. So it was a zoo volunteer in front of the viewing glass that noticed something very wrong about 9:15 Saturday morning, and that was Kristen being in the outdoor tiger exhibit and Sumatran tiger approaching Kristen in that same space. She knew it was wrong and did what she could do. She turned around. There was a staff person cleaning a hippo pool nearby. She got that staff person's attention, who then got the attention of one of our elephant keepers, who made that initial call over our radio system that there's an emergency. We think this wrapped up somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes from that initial call. And I don't know that we'll ever be able to get more specific than that. Our radio system is not the same as like a police dispatcher that timestamps things. So within that 6 to 10 minute window, it was identified that she was in there with a Sumatran tiger. Animal care staff responded and were able to miraculously secure the tiger in an inside holding area. At the same time, the zoo was being closed and evacuated. At the same time, tranquilizing agents were being prepared, and a response was being made by our firearms team. At the same time, a 911 call had been placed. Emergency personnel had responded, were on the scene, and 8 to 10 minutes after this was identified, emergency personnel were able to start treating Kristen for the injuries that she had received.
Now, I realize this is a traumatic event for a lot of the folks here, but when this incident started and the volunteers saw something was wrong, were the tiger and your staffer apart, and then the tiger and the staffer? The tiger came to the staffer, or was the tiger already wrestling with, I don't know what the right word is, tackling the staffer when when the volunteer?
I completely understand the question that you're asking. To this point, that is still a little bit unclear.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that different people are handling this in different ways. 3 of Kristen's friends responded and really saved the day. That volunteer could only stand there and watch. And is having some difficulty processing that. We know where that information is, and when it's right to have that conversation, we can have that too.
Okay, and was the tiger, at this point in the morning, was the tiger supposed to be in that back enclosed area?
Each morning, the timeline is a little bit different. We work with animals. They're not always predictable in how ready they're going to be to do something exactly when you want them to do that. But with that, there is a certain routine, a certain order that most of our staff perform daily tasks. There should only be a zookeeper in that space when that tiger is secured in an inside area. They should never, ever have access to the two at the same time.
Okay.
Brendan, was there any video of this, any surveillance video or anything?
We do not have surveillance equipment on that particular space. It's an interesting question. It's a question reflecting today's era where you see cameras everywhere. We have cameras from our installed security cameras are installed in a way for the human effect, not the animal effect, meaning entrances, exits, cache handling points. The animal cameras that we have up are typically part of a program engaged around conservation, marketing, live webcams, birthing cams, that type of thing. As a standard practice, we do not have cameras in our animal exhibits. That question we're going to ask, absolutely. If we had them, would it have changed the outcome? I don't know that we would have had that advanced of a system. Would it have tell us a very accurate picture of what had happened? Yes, but I don't know that it would have changed the event that day.
Well, bottom line, did she walk into the exhibit to clean and the tiger was put away, or did she mistakenly walk out there thinking the tiger was put away and then boom, they're both there at the same time? How did that? That's what everybody wants to know is how that happened.
And Eric, you're exactly right. That is what everyone wants to know. The honest answer to that is we think we understand the sequence of events. We need her to confirm that.
What do you believe, sir?
I don't know that I can comment on that without her doing it first and making sure I don't step on any personnel issues.
Are you concerned if you don't find these facts out that it might happen again? That's why, when there's investigation going on, they want to get that stuff right away, obviously, and to say, well, and believe me, I feel for everybody here. I get that. But you need to know to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So let me answer your question this way. We were 100% confident in the infrastructure of that facility when we put tigers back into it later that same day. We have no question about the integrity of the space or the environment. Does that make sense? I mean,
I'm just wondering, was there a latch the latch came up and the tiger got out of the enclosed area and that latch is malfunction? That's what I would think you would be concerned about, if that's what happened.
Oh, very concerned about, and that's why we looked at the facility, and I can stand here and say that we have 100% confidence in how the infrastructure functions. What I cannot do is comment on a personnel matter in this type of venue.
I'm sorry to be kind of thick here, but is the tiger, there's an enclosed space that I see that's that rock and...
Yes.
Okay. Does it has like a gate on it?
Sure. There's the enclosed space. Are you talking about the inside or the outdoor space?
The inside. Where in theory the tiger was supposed to be.
Yes. If a person goes into that exhibit, the tiger should be in the enclosed space behind it.
Right, and there's a gate that
there's
latches or
two different doors that open vertically, and both those doors should be closed for a person to enter that space.
Okay. And it would not, it's not a matter of her not, she was doing something there that morning.
It's normal protocol for a person to go in there every morning to clean, to put out enrichment items, to rearrange potentially the space. That's an everyday task. But the tiger has to be inside before we do that.
Okay. And forgive my ignorance, enrichment items, things to play with?
Yes, things to stimulate behavior and promote psychological welfare.
Jan, can I ask a question? Okay. If that's all right with you, Brendan.
I'm looking at my boss.
Definitely.
And don't leave, Brendan, because I know she's got some questions. A friend of yours got attacked by this tiger. We all know that's a wild tiger. Tigers are supposed to do that. But can you guys, as zookeepers who take care of that tiger, truly let that be set aside and treat that tiger the way it's supposed to be? Or will you have that in the back of your mind, this animal injured or almost killed a friend of ours? Can you truly do that? I mean, we're all human here.
I think that's a great question, Eric. I mean, thank you for thinking about us in that aspect, because nobody's asked us that yet. We are animal care professionals. We are in this job, in this career field, because we love animals and because we want to see their species survive in the wild. We want to see, we want to educate the public about, endangered animals and what we can do to help them. And so taking care of these animals in our zoo is our top priority. And, going in that building that day, I mean, I was not here during the incident, and I arrived on the scene shortly after. I took care of the tigers that day and the next day, and it was surreal walking in there. And but the Sanjeev, our tiger, and the 4 cubs, and Jinja, the mother, like this is why we do what we do. I mean, they're the most endangered species of animal in the world. We love these animals. I mean, more than you guys love your pets. I know that's hard for you guys to understand, but we're with them more than you're with your pets. So it's a special bond that we have with these animals. And these animals at this zoo, no matter if it's Sanjeev, if it's an elephant, if it's a black bear, if it's a frog, we're going to love and care for these animals just like we did the day before this incident. So there's a few of our staff that are struggling to set foot in that area, and that's okay. We're going to give them the time that they need. We have 3 staff on grounds that are trained in the tiger area, and myself and 1 other are comfortable going over there. And so the tigers are still very well taken care of. Saturday, Sanjeev was acting completely normal. I walked in there and he was just laying down, and he seemed excited to see me and was normal, and they're doing fine, and we're going to be okay. And animal care is our top priority. Seeing Kristen through this and seeing our staff through this and making sure our animals are receiving top-notch care, that's going to happen.
Yesterday you had counselors come in and talk to the staff. Have you heard how the staff is holding up now? And do you plan on having counselors come back again?
Yes, they're coming back again. I haven't really heard the type of impact that it made. I'm not sure how much of my business that is. I think as the employer, it's important to provide that, make sure that your staff, your team have the resources available and what they need. But I think it's also the responsibility of the employer to let each person process it the way they need to, without me prying into that.
Brandon, what's the latest on Kristen today? Is her condition improving?
I get the feeling that her condition is improving. I don't know any details about that. And again, we are trying to respect her privacy. This is a work comp incident, which means she's going to be assigned kind of a caseworker that way, to keep the employer out of it, to protect her rights. And I don't get any type of medical update, which isn't a reflection of a relationship issue. It's a reflection of a respect issue.
Brendan, who is at this point outside the zoo who is helping you, who is involved in looking at what happened and trying to figure out what happened?
So your question was, who is helping us? There are about 230 other accredited organizations with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums that are willing to help at any minute. Or the outpouring of support that we have gotten from other zoos is just phenomenal. I think what you may be asking is who's going to be reviewing this incident.
That's part of the question.
And there's really a couple different angles there. We've started by doing an internal review. We don't see any issues with our tiger enclosure or the facility. And so that means that we had another process that failed, and we'll work on correcting that process so that it won't be able to fail again this way. At some point, we will see the USDA arrive to do their own independent evaluation of the event. On a different path, we'll prepare a report for the Accreditation Commission of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And so those are kind of the three different avenues: our own internal look, the USDA review, and then the Accreditation Commission review.
There's not any state agency, for example, that would get involved, such as the Department of Labor or something like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Brendan, when we were talking earlier about the situation as it unfolded and the different scenarios, no one knew exactly what you needed to remedy the problem situation. You were talking about they were preparing some tranquilizer devices. Also, there was a potential that had this gone further, they may have had to use lethal type force. Can you talk about that, or what the situation? Who would have done that, and what would have happened?
Sure. For all sorts of different reasons we train on different emergency protocols, everything from severe weather to a lost child to the escape of a potentially dangerous animal. Within that last category, there's all sorts of different potentials that you consider. Is the zoo open? Is it closed? Are there a lot of people here? Is it a, middle of January afternoon? So our response to an emergency situation is built around different levels of responsibility. We've got different departments here that some of those levels of responsibility naturally fall under. To use this as an example, the emergency was called out, I think, as a tiger out of the exhibit. We train our staff that almost every emergency starts the same way. There's a who, there's a what, there's a what's needed next. So with that initial declaration, it's going to trigger many different levels of response. We mentioned the animal care team responding to the area where the animal is. Guest service department that is going to work with the guest, getting them out of the zoo, getting the zoo closed. Different people respond to different gates to let in emergency personnel. Our veterinary team, because tranquilizers are medications, that's obviously their role. And then we have a separate group of people that are trained to use firearms in the event that human life needs to be protected. And that is, I'll refer back to my days as a zookeeper, even as a zoo director today. That's your worst fear, that you create a situation where lethal force is going to have to be used to stop an animal that you care for, that you advocate for, because a mistake was made that jeopardizes human life. We maintain different firearms on grounds, 2 different locations, depending on the type of potentially dangerous animal that may pose a threat to people. A mountain lion and a hippo are 2 very different scenarios, which would require different styles of firearms. So Saturday, we had a staff person on the scene with a 30-06 as our animal care staff were calling the tiger into its inside enclosure. And if that tiger would have taken one more turn back, Kristen, it would have been, lethal force would have been used to stop that aggression. It could have been a much different story that we're talking about today. That is why, all of us are just feeling thankful, counting our blessings that given the bad situation, the outcome was as good as it possibly could have.
Afterward, though, there was no discussion of...
Well, I am going to move on here to some local news, but just to recap, that was a live press conference by Topeka Zoo Director Brendan Wiley and Assistant Curator Shayna Simpson. They spoke to media about the tiger that attacked a keeper over Easter weekend. Wiley said that the zookeeper Kristen Hayden Ortega continues to recover at a local hospital. They are respecting her privacy at this time. The zoo's male Sumatran tiger, Sanjiv, attacked Hayden Ortega inside the tiger's enclosure Saturday morning. Wiley said the zoo is investigating how the two were inside the enclosure at the same time. They do believe they know what the circumstances were, but they are awaiting Hayden Ortega's confirmation on that. It was previously said that Sanjeev was just following instinct when someone is in his territory, and there are no plans to euthanize the critically endangered tiger. They assured media that they care very deeply for these animals and that taking care of animals is their top priority. Well, we now know the names of two people killed in a hit-and-run crash in Philadelphia's Bustleton neighborhood Saturday night. Police say 48-year-old Carmen Ruiz and 50-year-old Juan Lopez were killed in the six-car crash. Their car flipped after being hit by a speeding Camaro. Police say the driver of the Camaro then got out of his car and was picked up by someone in a white Lexus. He is now on the run. Police ask that if you have any information that you give them a call. Video shows two suspects involved in a violent assault earlier this year in Center City. Back on February 10th, a 24-year-old man got into a fight with the driver of the car you see here, parked outside of Dilworth Plaza. A passenger got out of the car, went after the victim, and hit him across the face with a glass bottle. If you recognize the car or the passenger, please contact police. Let's travel out now to our surrounding Pennsylvania counties. Out in Chester County, police are investigating police in Westtown, East Goshen, put out this surveillance video showing a person snag a woman's dog statue off her front porch on Grand Oak Lane on Friday. Police say there were 5 other similar thefts in East Goshen Township, mostly in developments off of Boot Road, and one in Westtown. The items stolen range from elaborate heavy statues to flower pots.
Why? Why would you take something that belonged to somebody else? It just is ridiculous.
You would think it's a prank, but with 7, who knows what they're stealing it for.
Police say they're increasing patrols in the neighborhoods impacted. In the meantime, they recommend homeowners who don't want items stolen move them inside. Out in Northampton County, police are still searching for the man they say exposed himself to a woman in Easton on Easter Sunday. It happened on North 2nd Street just before 2 p.m. After startling that woman, investigators say the man ran on North Green Street. Neighbors tell us this kind of thing happens often there, and they want this guy caught.
Me, myself, obviously, if I walked up on something like that, I would be a bit shaken.
If they do have a mental illness, I hope that they get the help they need. Unfortunately, that is a really big issue. I don't think enough people get the help they need for issues like that.
In Bucks County, 3 puppies known as the Three Amigos get into a little mischief after a local pet store closes for the night. It happened at the Pet Plus store in Ben Salem. The puppies sent off the motion sensor alarms in the store. However, they also alarmed a group that was leaving a nearby movie theater. They say they got worried that the dogs were eating other animals inside the store. However, the owner says this was not the case.
These dogs, they want to come out and play. So, unfortunately, the dogs got out of the kennel. They see toys, treats, they pull them off the shelf, they eat them, they play with them.
The owner says one of the pups has even since been adopted. She says all of the puppies came from high-kill shelters, so people are welcome to come adopt and give these little guys a forever home. Now let's take a look into our New Jersey County stories. In Camden County, a person was hit by a car in Brooklawn last night. It happened on Route 130. They were taken to the hospital, but their condition is unknown this morning, so tune in later to get updates on that horrible crash. Police in Gloucester County say they've arrested the teen who vandalized police cars, houses, and businesses in Washington Township. 18-year-old Anthony Cram has been arrested on charges of criminal mischief. He's been released, but police say more charges are pending. In Cape May County, this is the wrong video. In Atlanta County, a deadly officer-involved shooting was justified, according to the Atlanta County Prosecutor's Office. It happened in Atlantic City almost a year ago, in June of 2018. You can see what happened in this body cam footage. 32-year-old Timothy Deal lunged at an officer and stabbed him. Police say they had no choice but to shoot him. Officers were responding to a hit and run at the time of this incident. Out in Cape May County, a town at the shore will continue to play Kate Smith's version of God Bless America, despite the controversy that caused the Flyers and New York Yankees to cut ties with the singer. Wildwood Mayor Ernie Troiano says his town will continue to play Smith's rendition of God Bless America every morning along the boardwalk throughout the summer. In the 1930s, Smith recorded songs with racist lyrics, including one about slaves picking cotton. Since the 1970s, the Flyer played Smith's version of that song at big games, but after the revelation of the racist music, they have said they will stop playing her song and removed a statue of her near the stadium. Well, a new Starbucks is opening at Dilworth Plaza this morning. A crane crew is piecing together what they call a prefab unit, which stands for prefabricated. Several businesses, including McDonald's, have used this method of building in order to get businesses up and running within a matter of hours. Well, it is nice and sunny here in Philadelphia. This is a live look at the fountain right on the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. And let me take you now to your weather. Current temperatures are 68 degrees in Philadelphia, down in Wildwood 65, Mount Pocono you have 60. A nice sunny day compared to what we experienced on Monday. Temperatures will reach nearly 80 degrees. Cloudy skies this evening will become partly cloudy after midnight. A stray shower or thunderstorm is also possible. By Wednesday, temperatures will take a slight dip, but the region can then expect cloud coverage through Friday, when rain is expected to return to the forecast. Well, since I am no meteorologist, for the latest forecast and location-based severe weather alerts, please download the Fox 29 Weather Authority app. Democratic leaders in Congress are trying to quiet down talks of a possible impeachment. Doug Luzader spoke with Good Day this morning on why.
Impeachment may be off the table. We talked about it yesterday morning. Seems like it's off the table this morning.
Democratic leaders in Washington, they're trying to rein in their colleagues who want to remove President Trump from office after the release of the Mueller report.
Doug Luzader from D.C.
Good morning, guys. The House Democrats had a big conference call yesterday to talk strategy on this, and you have Democratic leaders that are really trying to pump the brakes on impeachment.
Welcome.
At a festive White House Easter egg roll yesterday, President Trump batted away a question that is swirling around Washington.
Are you worried about impeachment, Mr. President?
Not even a little bit.
He may feel even better about it today after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sought to stake out a middle ground yesterday in a conference call with fellow House Democrats. Later, she put it in writing. It is also important to know that the facts regarding holding the president accountable can be gained outside of impeachment hearings.
The leadership of the House Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, clearly do not want to go down the impeachment road. So what they're going to do is have investigations without impeachment.
That recognizes the reality in Congress that Democrats simply don't have the numbers to remove President Trump from office. But they can investigate, and the latest move is a subpoena for former White House lawyer Don McGahn, all part of an effort to determine whether the president obstructed justice.
I would say that we're going to continue on with the investigations that have not been happening for 2 years. We've had 2 years of a president that has gone without any kind of oversight whatsoever.
But the caution isn't across the board. Out on the campaign trail, two Democratic candidates for the White House, Elizabeth Warren and now Kamala Harris, support impeaching the president.
They are senators, however, and impeachment must begin in the House. And right now, Mike and Alex, it just doesn't seem likely. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Nancy Pelosi looks across to the Senate and says, listen, the numbers are not there to impeach the president, or excuse me, to remove the president from office.
Yeah, remove. Certainly in the Senate. Doug, thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Here is a look at the Dow Jones as we transition into our business news. Putting a hold on the fold, Samsung is delaying the release of its newest foldable smartphones when you may finally be able to get your hands on one. Fox Business's Tracy Carrasco has the details.
I think Tracy knows that we both want this smartphone, this Galaxy thing, the folding phone, right? It looks like just a regular phone, but then you unfold it, turns into a tablet, right?
Right. But I should have known. This sounds too good to be true. A phone that you can fold, Tracy?
Yep. Well, it might be too good to be true because now Samsung is delaying the retail launch of the Galaxy Fold. They were really hyping this phone up. They unveiled it back in February. They sent out some of these phones to some tech reviewers, some journalists, bloggers. A number of them had these phones to review, and they reported on Twitter, on social media, they were posting pictures. The phones were breaking within a few days. The hinges were not working. The screens were blacking out. They were flickering. Samsung then saying that they would investigate. Yesterday, we heard that they were going to be delaying the launch in China. That was scheduled for tomorrow. Now we're also hearing that they're delaying the retail launch here in the U.S. That was supposed to happen on Friday. Samsung previously said that the pre-order units, they were already sold out. Did I mention the phone is $2,000? Because, yes, people were paying for this phone, expecting it. And now we're not sure when it will be, if it will work or when it will hit the market. So major issues for Samsung right now.
Yeah, you can tell they're just trying to rush it, get it out there before Apple came out with something like it.
Well, thank goodness they had people testing it out first. Because can you imagine if they actually put this on the market and people were buying it and then it didn't work?
That would be awful for them. So I think that's obviously why they are delaying it, to make sure that they have everything in order, that the phones work, that they will not break before people buy them. Because who knows what happened? You'll remember 2016 when the batteries were exploding.
Oh, that's right.
The Galaxy Note 7. So maybe they rushed that. Who knows?
I mean, I'm team iPhone, just saying.
Yeah, I'm still going to stay with the iPhone. But I saw a commercial over the weekend where Samsung people are charging each other's phones by just touching their phones together. Have you seen that, Tracy?
I've heard about this. Yes, I haven't seen the commercials, but I've heard of that feature.
That's nice.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you see, oh, you've run out of battery, you just look over at me in a restaurant.
It's like jumping a car battery.
Yeah. You just put your phone on their phone and it charges your phone.
Oh, nice.
How about that?
Have you seen Shazam yet?
No.
Okay, well, he was powering people's phones walking down the street. But also, I have a friend.
I think that's fake.
What?
Shazam.
Oh, well, yes, but stop it.
I think this is real.
I have a friend, this part is real. She just got a new car, and if you put it like in the console, it automatically charges your phone. You don't have to plug it in or anything, just place it. I know. I was like, this is
Well, she shouldn't have the phone in the car, though. It should be in the trunk.
Or if you place it there, you don't have to look at it.
All right,
It's driving. It's charging.
We do have some breaking news here. According to Fox affiliate in Chicago, Fox 32, the attorney for the Nigerian brothers involved in the alleged staged Jussie Smollett hate crime said that they have filed a federal lawsuit regarding the controversial case. Attorneys Gloria Schmidt, Gregory Colas, and James Tunick will be representing Olabenito Osundero and Abimbola Asundero at a press conference scheduled for it's 10 a.m. Central Time, so 11 a.m. here at the Union League Club. That's a live look at this right now. We are waiting for that to begin, so we will have it streamed here live. The brothers did confess to Chicago police about staging the attack and were subsequently released without being charged, according to Chicago PD Superintendent Eddie Johnson. TMZ had the report that the brothers are suing Smollett's lawyers Mark Garagos and Tina Glandian for defamation, claiming they lied to the media and tried to make it appear that the brothers were behind a real homophobic and racist attack. The story is developing, and we will tune into this press conference live right here on News Now.
Let's give her a happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh. Please, is someone rolling on this? Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Okay, so speaking is going to be first Gloria Schmidt, Gloriaschmidt. The next person to speak will be Gregory Kulis, Gregorykulis. And the last person to speak today will be James Tunick. James, common spelling, last name is Tunick. A couple more minutes. We're still waiting for some people to get set up, and once everybody's here, we'll come in.
And these folks are with what law firm? Yeah, who's Gregory and who's James?
Gregory is with Gregory Kulis and Associates.
They're all attorneys?
Yes. And
Okay.
James is with James Tunick Law.
And they are all attorneys representing themselves?
I'll let everybody come in and set that up for you as soon as we're ready. Thank you.
You want a little audio check and get that plugged in?
Yeah. Give me 30 seconds.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Another audio check. 1, 2, 3. Check. This is the Union League Club of Chicago, 65 West Jackson Boulevard. Good? Okay.
Yeah, Mark. I'll give you a heads up when they're coming down the hall.
Thank you.
We like that. Yeah.
I have some. Thank you, Kenneth.
We have some materials that this press team is handing out here.
Hey, Mike, you can just talk outside.
Back here.
Mike, good to meet you outside.
I get one more? Are you guys going to pass out the lawsuit itself?
Yes, right here.
I got that. She has enough shit. Leah, did you get the lawsuit?
Yes.
Yeah, she hasn't had it. Leah got one, nobody else got one. You want to lawsuit anybody? I got one. Why I got it? Give me that lawsuit. Everybody good back here? No. This is a lawsuit that I'm not party to. There you go.
Are there any attorneys here? What's respondeat superior? Anybody? Where's Larry?
Okay, here we go.
Good morning. I will never be the man that this did not happen to. I will be forever changed. Do you remember who said those words? Well, everyone directly involved in this matter. The Chicago Police Department, the City of Chicago, and especially my clients, Ola and Abel Oshundairo. Now, they can say that same statement. My city, my police department, and my clients all deserve to have their reputations restored. Attorneys Mark Garagos and Tina Glandian, through their continued false statements and hateful rhetoric, have only deepened the damage that was caused by the very first out of 16 counts of lies that were told to the police that started this whole situation. That is why today we are taking action in federal court. We want to end these malicious attacks and ensure that those responsible for continuing to destroy the reputation of the Chicago Police Department, the City of Chicago, and that of Ola and Bola Osundairo are held accountable. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. The Chicagoan brothers told the truth. They could have remained silent, but instead they told the truth to the police, and with their right hand in the air, they told the truth to the grand jury. We're going to make sure that the lies and malice attacking our city, our police department, and my two clients are met with truth and healing. At this time, I'd like to introduce two attorneys from their respective law firms, Kulis and Associates and the Law Office of James Tunick. I've proudly partnered with them in getting this lawsuit off the ground. Attorney Greg Kulis has nearly 40 years of civil federal litigation and enjoys an excellent reputation, not just in Chicago, but with his cases across the country. Attorney James Tunick handles some of the most complicated and complex federal cases that you can ever imagine and has a significant background in defending constitutional liberties. I am very proud to partner with them. I would like to give them each an opportunity to say a few words to you, and afterwards I will read a statement that the brothers have prepared. We will take a few questions after that. Mr. Kulis.
Good morning. My name is Gregory Kulis, and I'm one of the counsel that has filed this lawsuit. As Gloria has said, Ola and Bola are Chicagoans. They were born, raised, and educated near Wrigley Field in Chicago. They are Chicagoans. What has happened to them is a continuation of an attack on all of us who live in this city. As lawyers, we have certain powers, but we cannot abuse that platform. We are given the platform that we're given to defame others for one's own fame and fortune. That is morally wrong, that is ethically wrong, and we believe that is legally wrong. That is why we filed this lawsuit. We filed this lawsuit in the United States District Court right here on the corner. There are consequences for the actions that Tina Glandian and Mark Garagos have taken. Today's suit enables us to make sure that those consequences are decided in a court of law, not on a cable news network, not in an interview on a TV station, and not in some squib that is made in a newspaper. That's where we should be, in a court of law. We filed in the United States District Court because there we believe we will get a fair venue. People question what happened in Cook County. People question what happened in the court system. The answers will be given. The answers will be unveiled in federal court, where we believe that as an independent venue, we will have the facts come out as they should. Just the other day, somebody called for an independent investigation of what occurred in Cook County courts. Promptly, the Garagos law firm allegedly filed something to prevent that. They don't want the truth to come out, yet they continue and have no qualms about bashing and defaming our clients with untruths. I believe this lawsuit will be the first step in showing not only the citizens of Chicago, but the nation and internationally, that Chicago is not what they portrayed it to be. And we hope that this lawsuit will be the first step in curing the wrongs that were committed upon our two clients. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James Tunick, and I'm also one of the attorneys representing the Chicago Brothers. No one should be surprised by this lawsuit. Not the law enforcement community, not the legal community, not the Chicagoland community, and not anyone from our country. Nor should the defendants be surprised by this lawsuit because they know the extent of their false and vicious remarks. Nevertheless, we will act with dignity and respect during the course of this federal lawsuit, which is currently in the United States District Court as we speak. No man nor any woman is above the law. The complaint is a serious, serious complaint. Make no question about that. It's all laid out in the lawsuit. There are numerous defamatory statements, and they're all alleged in the 16-page lawsuit that we filed. Again, we will act with dignity, although Mr. Garagos and Ms. Glandian did not act with dignity during the course of the criminal proceedings. We hope they follow our lead and act dignified during this lawsuit. I will tell you this. The scorched earth lawyering will not play out in the United States District Court in Chicago. I know. I've been practicing there for 25 years. Greg has been practicing in the federal court in Chicago for 35 years. We intend to get justice. Thank you.
No. At this time, no problem. At this time, I'd like to read to you a statement that Ola and Bola prepared themselves. They also have a longer statement I believe they will be releasing after the press conference. We have sat back and watched lie after lie being fabricated about us in the media, only so one big lie can continue to have life. These lies are destroying our character and our reputation in our personal and professional lives. Those who know us personally know that we don't have hate for anyone that is not who we are. We try to spread as much love and positivity with whoever we come into contact with. We will no longer sit back and allow these lies to continue. And with that, we'll go ahead and take a few questions.
Is it a tough bar to clear? You're talking about their reputations. They've admitted taking part in a fake attack. How have their reputations been? How have they been?
When you read the lawsuit, you'll see how they've been defamed. But as far as their participation in this publicity stunt, they've realized that it was wrong. They've apologized for it, and they've expressed more than once that they are tremendously regretful for the role that they played in it. But make no mistake, they had no role in calling the police, and they had no role in defrauding the police department.
So the lawsuit mentions lost business opportunities and that kind of thing. Can you point to any specific instances where they've lost business due to some of these statements from Garagos and Glandian?
At this point, I think that would be too speculative for us to admit as we have just filed this lawsuit. But those details will be shown in the course of litigation. Greg, if you wanted to add anything to that.
No, I think the complaint basically indicates that there's some lost business opportunities. They have a training and health program that they've tried to market. That has been now basically destroyed. So, I mean, this is relatively new, but they can't get jobs right now. They're having issues trying to make ends meet.
Has there been any contact between them and Jussie Smollett since this whole thing is?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
Have they had any contact with Jussie Smollett? Has he called them? Has there been a conversation? Has he said they're sorry? Have anyone said they're sorry to each other? What's going on there?
As far as we know, there's been no contact, no attempts to be reached out to from either side.
The suit says that your clients feel unsafe and alienated in Chicago. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. They can't go down to the corner store without paparazzi chasing after them. There are still reporters that are knocking on their door wanting their story. Their phone calls, the phone calls they're getting, they're inundated with still requests for interviews. Social media is blowing them up with positive things, negative things, and also questions about why haven't they come out yet. And that's all to them very alienating.
Didn't their participation in this, regardless of what Mr. Garagos has said about them, hasn't that what hurt their business and caused paparazzi in front of their house?
I really think you need to take a look at the lawsuit because it really lays out the specific allegations as to defamation. I mean, it's really clear in the lawsuit. There's numerous statements after the charges were dropped against Mr. Smollett. So I would just reference you back to the lawsuit. It's very patently clear about that.
No, I'll add to that. Their participation was with the police and with the grand jury. That's who they fully participated with. They were asked to do something by a friend who they trusted, and at the end of the day, that friend betrayed their trust. Any other questions?
Talked about $75,000 for each plaintiff. That's the jurisdictional amount to get into federal court. As we've indicated in the prayer for relief, we will be asking the court and or a jury to award them the appropriate compensatory damages, punitive damages against the individuals, and cost of the lawsuit. The $75,000 is just the jurisdictional amount that has to be pled to get in for federal court.
One more question, please. You talked about the idea that they've obviously had a tough time getting jobs, but Mr. Smollett made a clear case after everything happened that he was innocent and that this wasn't his fault and that he basically was just a victim in this. Can you guys address what he said after he was set free?
Mr. Smollett's statements are not evidence. We have evidence, actual evidence, besides self-serving statements to promote yourself. There's a big difference between self-serving statements and actual evidence.
Thank you, everyone. And just to clarify, actually, any questions for the record? Was this actually filed today? It was filed today?
This morning.
Yes.
This morning? And do we know if both of these defendants have been served?
No, service will go out this morning to them.
So we expect they'll be served today?
Yes.
They'll be notified of the lawsuit today, and they can decide whether they want to come in and file an appearance directly or wait the appropriate time. They have time to respond.
How unusual is this, though, that attorneys are suing attorneys?
Well, how unusual were the statements made by Ms. Glandian and Mr. Garagos after the case was dropped? Pretty unusual. They're both pretty unusual. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.